So like I was saying, we used a version of JavaScript, a library of JavaScript called processing.js. That is developed in the programming language Java, but was ported over to JavaScript, and it gives you the ability to add shapes and graphics and things to your web pages or to your JavaScript programs. Today what we're going to do is we're going to use another library of code called P5, which is based off of processing, and we're going to use a different editor. We're not using the Khan Academy editor this week. We're going to be using the P5 editor, and it looks like this. And here is the link. It's editor. We'll go really big there. editor.p5js.org. So what I'm going to do with this is I'd like to demonstrate it, but I'd also like you to follow along with me so you can practice some of these things and work through changing the variables, changing the arguments or the parameters of the different functions, developing your own functions. If you can't see the TV, you need to move to a place where you can see so you can watch this and follow along. In P5, one of the options up here across the top is to log in or sign up. I want you guys to click on log in. And then down at the bottom, it will give you the ability to log in with Google. And so when you click on that one, you're going to have to attach your account just like you did for Khan Academy. But once you attach this to your account, it should have your name or the first part of the username up here at the top, first part of your email address. So we have a gear down below where it says my account. And if you click on the gear, this gives you some options to change. Number one, if I click on the dark theme, it's going to turn the screen to black. It keeps the same colors here, just a darker version of those. The one I'm going to choose is called high contrast. It lets us, it changes these colors ever so slightly. Normal text is white. Functions are a tealy blue. Some of the keywords are brown. Parameters are pinkish, fuchsia colored. Okay, so you have that. And I'm also on mine, I'm going to increase this to 30. That way when I'm making changes, my text size is a little bit bigger. I don't have to keep zooming in and zooming out to show you things. It has an autosave feature that's available on here as well. And when I click someplace over here again, it's going to get me back out that way. So this is our area to work. We have our sketch is what they call the code in this one. It's a JavaScript file. And we have that on the left-hand side, very similar to what we saw in Khan Academy. On the right-hand side is a preview. Up by the play and stop button is an auto refresh checkbox. And what this will allow it to do is every time I make a change on my program, once I hit play, every time I make a change, it's going to automatically reload the code. So I don't have to keep going up there and hitting play, stop, play, stop. It will automatically do that for me. And you can see next to the auto refresh, mine says trite crowd. Yours will say something 100% different than mine. I guarantee it, it'll say something different. This is a list of, they auto-generate a file name for you. And one of the files that I have in here is called Carnelian Theater, Dark Bakery. So I have all these different ones that I had forgotten to change the name of my file. If I want to change this, I will click on the pencil, and I can edit this name. I'm going to say test projects and press enter, and now it's called test projects. And with this auto refresh box checked, I'm going to hit play, and you should see a preview that is 400 pixels by 400 pixels. And if you remember from processing, if you remember in Khan Academy, the only function we used was the draw function. and that was just to draw the animation or draw the shapes on the screen. I can do an ellipse out here. It doesn't show up because it's not inside the draw function. So it tells me that I don't have it inside the right location. If I move this, whoop, the thing out there, if I move this into the draw function, now it has the ability to draw that on the screen. So I can't have any code for the JavaScript page. I can't have any of that on the outside of a function. If I want it to display on the screen, I can have my variables displayed on the outside. I can have variables defined at the top that allow me to set up some different things. But if I want to see the rectangles or ellipses or lines or anything else like that, I have to make sure that those go inside of the draw function. The other thing you might notice is that the draw function and setup function, there's two of them. Setup creates our canvas. The draw function does the drawing. It puts stuff on the screen. So the other thing you might notice is that the draw is on the other side of the word function in this aspect. So it's changed a little bit from there. Does the exact same thing, just a little bit different order. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is how to change the background color. And the background right here is set to 220. And if I change that to 120, as long as it's playing, it's getting darker and darker. We have values from 0 to 255. And the closer to 255 you get, it's going to be white. So 200 is going to be a little bit grayer than white. 100 is going to be darker. And when I get to 0, it's completely black. So if you just have one number in a color, one number is going to be anything from black to white in the grayscale. So it's going to change it from that black to white. As soon as I add a comma and add more numbers, in this case, because I have 3 zeros, the 3 zeros, if all three numbers are the same, it's the same as having one number. But if I have my numbers here, 0, 0, and 0, if you remember from our talk about or going over the Khan Academy, we have 3 different colors that compose the background color or any fill color or stroke color. And that's a red component, a green component, and a blue component. And so different values of these are going to create different parts of the color. So if I have the very first one is the red, green, blue. If I go from 0 red, which means it's going to be completely black, up to all red, 255, our result looks like this. If I change this, put a 0 back in there, it turns to black. If I do all green, you can see that it turns to all green. And if I do that in the last one in the blue, it's going to be all blue. If I do variations of that, if I take 255 red and 255 blue, it's going to be a purple color. If I do half of that, 125 red, a little darker. It's more blue than red, so it balances that out. If I do another number here in the middle, 93. Still kind of purple because I have so much blue. What if I do 42? It's like a brown. So as I work around through here, I can change these 3 numbers. If I happen to take this and I do 200, 200, and 200 all together, it's that gray. It's the same thing as having all the numbers. It's the same thing as having one number. If all 3 are the same, it's the same as having one number that's those 3 numbers together. So this is built into Google, and it has a color that you see right here, but then it also has the whole spectrum of color on the bottom, and then all of the hue, saturation, and value settings, the different. So this is all the different from white to black in every shade of blue available at this specific setting on the spectrum. So we can look through these. This tells us things when we create websites. We use hex values that look like this. When we are using JavaScript in the program that we're using right now, this is the color. We want to look for the RGB, which is in the bottom corner here. That is the color we want to use. So if I have 38, 121, 209, I come back over here and do 38, 121, and 209. It's that same blue that I have right here, exactly the same color. So I can use Color Picker to choose my colors. So if I have an ellipse here, I can create, this is kind of a big review from last week or the last 2 weeks. I can create variables. Let width equal 100. Let height equal 100. So I just created 2 variables, and I set each of them to 100, which is 100 pixels, 100 pixels. So down here in my ellipse, down here in the ellipse, I could take the 100 out and I could put in width. And at the second one, I could do height. This thing looks exactly the same because I haven't changed the same values. I just replaced the number with a variable. If I change the value of that variable to 50 and let it refresh, you can see that it squishes down. If I change this one to make it bigger, the width is going to be in the X direction and the height is in the Y direction, and so it just makes it a little bit bigger this way.